Hi there, I am the book lady, and boy have I brought some books. Just think bears. Now who's one of the best known bears we've ever heard of? Winnie-the-Pooh, right? Well, this story, Finding Winnie, is written by Winnie-the-Pooh's great-granddaughter. What? You hang in there. I'm going to explain this. This is a beautiful book, and I cannot wait to read this to you. Then we're going to have fun. Brian Lies or Lees, we're not sure how to pronounce his name, but he has written and illustrated, what does that mean? Drew the pictures of this darling book called Got to Get to Bears. Yeah, got to get to bears. It's fun, and we will read it after we read Finding Winnie. This is by Lindsay Mattick. Now let me tell you, she's the great-granddaughter of Captain Harry Colebourn. And she grew up thinking Winnie-the-Pooh was her great-grandbear. See, Colebourn, remember that name? Here we go. Now, we're going to start out with a mom and her little boy, and it's bedtime, all right? Could you tell me a story? Asked Cole. Well, it's awfully late. It was long past dark and time to sleep. What kind of story? You know, a true story, one about a bear. We cuddled up close. I'll do my best. Well, a very long time ago, about 100 years before you were born, there was a veterinarian who lived in Winnipeg. That's in Canada. It's north, and it's cold up there. His name was Harry Colebourn. A vegetarian, said Cole. Bear doesn't like vegetables. A veterinarian. It means an animal doctor. Well, I know that. That's what I'm going to be when I'm big. If a horse had the hiccups or a cow had a cough, Harry knew how to make them feel just right. Harry's hands were never cold, even in Winnipeg, where winters are so frosty that icicles grow on the insides of your nose. That was just the kind of doctor he was. Such beautiful pictures. But a day came when Harry had to say goodbye to Winnipeg. There was a war far away, beyond the end of the country, on the other side of the ocean, and he was going to help. He would be caring for the soldiers' horses. It was World War I, and the soldiers rode horses. Harry rode east on a train full of other soldiers. He leaned his head against the window, watching the land scroll by, wondering what it would be like to be so far from home. The train rolled right through dinner and over the sunset and around 10 o'clock and into a nap and out the next day, until it stopped at a place called White River. Harry decided to stretch his legs. On the train platform was a man on a bench with a baby. A baby? Said Cole. A baby bear. A cub. Harry stopped. You know, it's not every day that you see a bear cub at a train station. That bear has lost its mother, he thought. And that man must be the trapper who got her. What do trappers do? Asked Cole. It's what trappers don't do. They don't raise bears. Raise them? You know, love them. Harry thought for a long time. Then he said to himself, there is something special about that bear. He felt inside his pocket and said, now I shouldn't. He paced back and forth and said, "Oh, I can't." Then his heart made up his mind, and he walked up to the trapper and said, "I'll give you $20 for the bear." "Is $20 a lot?" asked Cole. "Back then, even more than a lot." "Captain Colebourn," said the colonel on the train as the little bear sniffed at his knees, "we are on a journey of thousands of miles, heading into the thick of battle, and you propose to bring this most dangerous creature?" Bear stood straight up on her hind legs as if to salute the colonel. The colonel stopped speaking at once, and then, in quite a different voice, he said, "Oh, hello." The men of Harry's regiment squeezed by to have a look. "I've decided to name her Winnipeg," Harry told them, "so we'll never be far from home." Winnie, for short. They had a very long way to travel, and they had already gone 3 or 4 feet when Winnie grew hungry. What do bears eat? The men wondered. "What don't they eat?" said Harry. Remember, Harry's a veterinarian. "Vegetables," Cole reminded me. Winnie ate vegetables, yes. She ate everything except onions. They brought her carrots and potatoes and apples and tomatoes and eggs and beans and bread and a tin of fish and some slop in a dish, but Winnie was still hungry. "How about dessert?" said Harry, holding up a bottle of condensed milk. Taking the treat in her paws, Winnie lay on her back and hummed a happy song as she drank. The men just roared. Harry and Winnie gathered with soldiers from all over Canada in the fields of Valcartier. A whole city of tents had sprung up there. One was a hospital for horses where Harry went to work. Winnie was in the army now. Harry taught her to stand up straight and hold her head high and turn this way and this, just so. Soon she was assigned her own post. Even the colonel agreed that Winnie was a remarkable bear. She might have been the best navigator in the whole army. If you hid something, could she find it? She could. What if it was farther away? And farther even still? Remarkable. In the evenings, both of them were too tired to move. When Harry thought about Winnie and the voyage across the ocean, his head said, "I shouldn't." His head said, "I can't." But his heart made up his mind. Nobody had ever tried to float so many people and animals across the Atlantic Ocean before. 30 ships sailed together, carrying about 36,000 men and about 7,500 horses, and about one bear named Winnie. When they finally arrived in England, the regiment went to training on the Salisbury Plain, where it rained and rained and rained. But Winnie didn't seem to mind. She was the mascot of the 2nd Canadian Infantry Brigade, and she attended her post with vigor. One day, Harry came running while she was doing her exercises in the tent. "You'll bring the whole place down," he said with a laugh. She had grown. It was winter when the order came. The time had come to fight. Winnie posed proudly with the men for pictures to send home to their families. Harry thought for a long time. His head argued one way and then the other, but his heart made up his mind. He went to Winnie and said in a serious way, "There's somewhere we need to go." Winnie brushed the mud off her nose and snuggled in close. Harry drove all the way to the big city. Here we are, the London Zoo. Harry took a deep breath. Winnie, "This is going to be your home for a while," he said. She tilted her head. "We're shipping out to France. I have to take care of the horses at the front." She rested her big head against him. "I know you want to come, but it's not safe." Winnie's head bowed. Harry's hands were warm as sunshine, as usual. "There is something you must always remember. It's the most important thing, really, even if we're apart. I always love you. You'll always be my bear." Is that the end? Well, that's the end of Harry and Winnie's story. But I don't want it to be over. Well, sometimes you have to let one story end so the next one can begin. How do you know when that will happen? You don't, which is why you should always carry on. Once upon a time, there was a little boy with a stuffed bear. He'd had his bear ever since he was a baby, but somehow the boy had never found the right name for him. He tried Teddy and Edward and even Big Bear. Well, one day the boy went to visit the London Zoo with his father, and there was a bear, a real bear, on the terraces there. Right away, the boy thought, there is something special about that bear. Her name was Winnie. They became true friends. The boy was allowed to come right inside her enclosure to play. Once the boy had found Winnie, he knew just what to call his stuffed bear. He named it Winnie-the-Pooh, and the boy was called Cole? asked Cole. No, his name was Christopher Robin Milne. Christopher Robin would visit Winnie at the zoo, and then he would take his stuffed animals on all sorts of adventures in the wood behind his home. His father, Alan Alexander Milne, wrote books all about them. Harry's Winnie became Winnie-the-Pooh, and there has never been a more beloved bear. But what about Harry? Cole asked. When Harry visited Winnie at the zoo, he saw how happy she was. She was being raised. She was truly loved. And that was all he ever wanted from the moment they met at the train station in White River. So after the war, Harry returned to Winnipeg and his life as an animal doctor. Before long, he was married, and he had a son named Fred, and Fred had a daughter named Laureen, and Laureen had a daughter named Lindsay, which is me. And then I had a son. When I saw you, I thought, there is something special about this boy. So I named you after your great-great-grandfather, Captain Harry Colebourn. I named you Cole. That's me? Said Cole in a whisper. That's you. And that's Winnie? Yes, that's Winnie. And it's all true? Sometimes the best stories are. Cole's eyes grew big, and he said nothing for a long time. Then he hugged his own bear close and let out a yawn that reached far away, and they both turned over and fell asleep. And do you know, there's a picture of Dr. Harry Colebourn, the vet who took little Winnie. And we know her real name was Winnipeg. And there are all these wonderful things at the back of the book. Oh, I thought this was such a wonderful story, and I'm glad I got to share it with you, because now we know that Winnie-the-Pooh, the real original one, there really was one, was named Winnipeg, because that's where Dr. Colebourn was from. All right. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. But first, we got to read got to get to the bears. Ah! This is a great book. All right. When Izzy read the note, oh, she knew she had to go. She didn't like the look of the sky, but Bear never asked for anything, so Izzy knew it had to be important. As she started out, flakes began to flutter down. The snow piled deeper and deeper and deeper. Ooh, and soon she couldn't go any farther. I just loved these 2 pages. You know, it almost, you don't need words. It kind of tells you the story right there. Okay, she can't go any further. Hey, where are you headed? Said Scritch. Oh, I'm trying to get to Bear's place. She asked me to come as soon as I could, but I don't think I can make it. It looks a little deep, but you know how it is. If Bear asks you, you gotta go. Jump on my back. We'll be there in a jiff. The treetop road is the way. So they jump in the trees. So the 2 went on together. How fun does that look? Until they couldn't anymore. Bingle landed nearby laughing. Slippery, isn't it? Where are you going? Well, we're trying to get to Bear's, Scritch said. She asked Izzy to come. You don't say. Well, you don't say no to Bear. But Skyway is better than battling branches. All aboard. I'll get you there. As they went, the sky darkened, the wind grew wild, and snow stung their faces like tiny bees. Can't see! Can't see! They came to a sudden stop. Maybe walking is better. Yeah, maybe so, Scritch said. Oh, good idea. But it was slow going. Snaffy caught up with them. Hey there, everybody. I've been following your trail. Having trouble? I've got to get to Bear's, Izzy explained. Bingle added, but trees are bad, Skyway is bad, and snow's too deep to waddle. Snaffy smiled. Bear isn't far from here. I'm going. Let me give you a ride. As Snaffle tried to jump over the snow, they sang to keep their spirits up. No matter how steep or tough the climb, a friend is worth it every time. Oh man, jumping's too hard. I'm just gonna plow my way under the snow. Bingle, you steer. Well, it worked for a while, but as the snow deepened, Scritch had to call out directions, and then it was just Izzy above the surface, pointing the way. At last, the glow of Bear's place shone through the dark. Oh, we made it, Izzy cried. I hope we're not too late. My feathers are frozen. Izzy knocked on the door with her tiny knuckles. Bear opened the door, with the saddest look spread on his face. Oh, it's you, Izzy. What are you doing here? But you sent me that note. You asked for me. Yes, but I didn't think you'd make it with the snow. Look how deep it is. Well, am I too late to help? Oh, the storm ruined everything. But you'd better come in and warm up. Oh, it's too bad. I wanted Scritch, Bingle, and Snaffy here too. But they are here. I'm standing on them. Bear stepped aside as they tumbled into the warmth of her den. She pushed the door shut. So, what's wrong? How can we help? Bear cleared her throat. Well, it's not that something's wrong. And a smile crept up on the corners of her mouth. She started to chuckle. We have something to say to you. To me? Yeah, we wanted to say, Happy birthday! How did you know it was my birthday? Izzy asked. We're your friends. We knew. And they ate cake and told stories through the long night as the storm raged on. And in the morning, as Bear helped everyone back home again, they all sang, No matter how steep or tough the climb, a friend is worth it every time. I think that's so cute. It's about friends. That's what it's about. And Bear, because Bear had a nice big cave, his house. And so he was going to have the surprise party. So he sent a note to Izzy, and she thought, oh, there's trouble. Because Bear, if Bear called out for help, you knew it must be something terrible. So even though the sky, it doesn't look good, it's gonna snow. And she went anyway. And like I said, I love that picture of her. She's gonna go, yeah. But look at it, it's just getting deeper and deeper and deep. Oh, she's in trouble. And what happened? All her friends jumped in and said, here, let me help you. So, there's the squirrel. Scritch. Scritch is taking her for a ride across the branches because the snow's not as deep up there. But then it did get deep. They were out on a limb. And so then Bingle, the crazy duck, says, hey, I can fly you there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, the snow was so hard here. Have you ever been out where the snow hit your face and it really does sting? Yeah, well, he couldn't take it anymore. So who do they run into? The raccoon, Snaffy. And Snaffy says, hey, no problem. Get on my back and I'll take all of you. Well, I think this is funny. Do you see how they're going through? Now all we see is his bill. Now, finally, you just see Izzy. And she almost looks like she's walking in the snow, but her friends are underneath her. I just thought it was a darling book. I think the pictures are wonderful. I particularly like this one because I think Bear has a great sweater on. Isn't that beautiful? Well, I hoped you liked this book as much as I did. Gotta get to Bears. It's gotta be important. And Izzy's so sweet. Izzy thinks Bear's in trouble and we gotta get there and help Bear. But the friends knew, they were onto it. They knew what was going on. And it was a surprise party for Izzy. I loved it. But here's the bear we love. And there. Who is that? That's Winnie-the-Pooh. And now we know that Winnie-the-Pooh is based on a real bear. Now there's a picture here. Look how big Winnie has gotten. Yes. And that is not, you might think that that's a little girl, but that's a little boy named Christopher Robin. And this says it was in, just a second, this photo was taken of Winnie and Christopher Robin in 1925. That's about 100 years ago at the zoo. Nowadays, they would not let a little boy get in the same cage with the bear. No, they wouldn't let that. But they did. 1925, they did. And they have the official animal record card, shows that Winnie began her stay at the London Zoo on December 9th, 1914. Isn't that interesting? 100 years ago. And they're just beautiful. Here's a statue. And you know who's in that statue? That would be Winnie and Dr. Colebourn. Harry. Yeah. When I saw this book, I sat down in the library and I read it to myself. And I didn't know this story, the real story. And I said to myself, you know what? I have to read this to my friends. Because you guys, I know you love Winnie-the-Pooh. This, you know, when Harry said, I have to take you to the zoo. And it's sad, but it would have been very dangerous to take Winnie to war. But this little picture, look at Winnie. Because Winnie doesn't understand what war is. And she thinks that Harry's leaving her. And he tells her, no, 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 no. All I want is for someone to love you. I want you to be loved. And you know, that's probably important in all our lives. You know, if you're ever having a rotten day, maybe someone was mean to you, maybe you didn't do well coloring or on a test, or maybe you can't read as well as the other kids. You know what I call it? Stinking thinking. It's when you think all nasty, bad stuff, blah, blah. What you want to know is you're loved. Yeah, you may have really screwed up that day. Maybe you got in trouble. You're still loved. I mean, isn't that great to go to bed every night and know that you're loved? Well, he had to leave Winnie at the London Zoo. But who found Winnie? Christopher Robin. And see, Christopher Robin's father, Mr. Milne, took pictures and would watch Christopher play with his stuffed bear, and he wrote books about Winnie-the-Pooh. Oh. Well, today was our bear day, and I hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was roaring good fun. And remember, the library. The library. Go to the library. Find books. It's like a treasure chest. You can find, look what I found. And try and get a library card. If you can write your name, you can get a library card. And tell your cousins and your friends and your aunts and your uncles to go to YouTube, and they too can watch The Book Lady. And until next time, I'm going to the library to get 2 more books to read to you. I'm the Book Lady. Bye-bye.